It's an interesting time to be selecting a new standard rifle for the British Armed Forces. Maybe 10 years ago, at least the options to bring into trial might have been straightforward. Since then, we've got the next generation squad weapon, 6.8 by 51, common cartridge, or the civilian version, 277 Fury. Very intriguing. Kind of a one of these situations where a military sets a very high bar to see if industry can hit that bar, and then they'll look at whether they adopt it or not. And the requirement is essentially much higher lethality than 5.56 can offer, with a side order of penetrating level, NIJ level 4 body armor at up to 800 meters, which is kind of extremely ambitious, let's put it that way. And that, I suspect, has thrown a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons for what on earth Britain does next. I was very grateful to be invited to Sig Sauer the other week and acquired our first artifact of the next generation squad weapon program. That's the XM7 rifle and the XM250 machine gun, and this new 6.8 round. So by 51, as in the same case length. It's the 7.62 NATO cartridge that we all know and love from the SLR days, with the bullet, so necked down, and I only have the case because I picked up a fired case that I'd fired. I don't have a complete round yet, but you can see that it's not the same, but derived from the 7.62 NATO cartridge with a smaller diameter bullet that's very long and has a high sectional density. And then there are several different flavors of this. So your body armor requirement is met by a particularly hot, spicy version of the round. You have a general purpose round for normal higher than 5.56 lethality infantry combat use. And then you have a reduced range round, which is what I was allowed to shoot, which is for training, because this thing's so powerful that the standard danger areas on US ranges, US Army ranges, won't allow the use of the full power cartridge. And if you're going to drag the slider all the way up to 80,000 pounds per square inch chamber pressure to get 3,000 feet per second muzzle velocity, which is, it's the muzzle velocity of a 5.56 out of a 20-inch barrel, out of a much shorter barrel and a much bigger, heavier bullet, but traveling at the same speed. So you're absolutely squeezing, you're rinsing every last bit of performance out of the technology that is available. So there's 7.62 NATO, and there is 6.5 Creedmoor. So quite similar in a way to the 6.8, but nowhere near the very high chamber pressures. It's another slimmer, longer bullet, trying to get a flatter trajectory, precision, but also good terminal effect at distance. So that's kind of come in parallel to the British take on NATO standardization, because as I understand it, 6.5 Creedmoor is what the L129A2 sharpshooter rifle is going to be chambered for. We don't have that yet. We do have original flavor from back in 2009-ish when this was being trialed. L129A1 in 7.62 NATO. It's a big, heavy, chunky weapon, although it's relatively short barreled for a precision weapon. And one of the key things here, and this will inform Grayburn significantly once they, if they settle on a caliber, the next step is essentially what form factor are you going for? Now that's stuff like, although you don't really specify for this, but conventional layout versus bullpup layout like SA80, but more importantly, how big and therefore how heavy is the receiver, is the action. So this is loosely AR-10 or SR-25. They're the two sort of standards. The big brother of the AR-15. So that means almost essentially 20-round magazines. You could put a 30-round mag on this thing, give it select fire capability, and run it as an infantry rifle. UKSF did operate, or does in fact operate, I believe, the HK417 as the L2A1 rifle in different barrel lengths, including 12-inch barrel, essentially operating it as a full power assault rifle or a battle rifle, if you prefer that terminology. So that can be done. But they don't run, I don't believe they run 30-round mags. So you're losing 10 rounds capacity, 10 rounds less that you can shoot at the enemy per magazine. The weight of the round is significantly more. Now, the change from 7.62 to 6.5 Creedmoor for this platform makes sense because they've already got the big frame, the big heavy gun. And if anything, you're going to get slightly lighter ammo out of 6.5 over 7.62. 5.56 is a very small diameter bullet. It relies on sufficient velocity to do damage on the order of something like 7.62, if I can put it that way. So it needs to, that's why you have that 20-inch barrel on the M16. It's why you have it on SA80. Once you start cutting the barrel length down, which is a very valid requirement, moving through buildings, operating on ships, you name it, everyone wants short barrels for sort of dynamic work. But the problem is 5.56 wasn't designed for that. So you've then got to either do something to the round or you've got to replace the round. Now, the advantages of 6.8 SPC and 6.5 Grendel were you could keep your small frame AR-15. This is the Knights Armament KS-1 as adopted as the L403A1 alternative individual weapon. And you could convert this, if you wanted to one of those cartridges, 6.8 SPC, let's say, because the same magazines can be used and you can keep your lighter, shorter, smaller weapon, put it that way. You don't have to go for a big, heavy set of receivers. You can use the same basis. This applies to 300 Blackout as well, which has become popular now, but that's more of a niche thing. 6.8 SPC and 6.5 Grendel were possible replacements for 5.56 across the piece. 300 Blackout is a niche application cartridge, so that isn't likely to be in the mix.
Thanks for watching. For more from BFBS Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.